everybody. Welcome to the Hey Gurl podcast. It's our first episode with Avalaura. I'm so happy to have her on. This podcast is really dedicated to storytelling, and the women coming on this show will talk about their personal experiences or either their business that they have to help us all with our mental health journeys. So I'm excited to have our first episode today with Avalaura. I'm going to let her do a little intro about herself. And also, I'm sorry, let me do a little intro about myself. My name's Denisha. I started the Hey Gurl podcast because I am interested in mental health. I feel like it's very important. The girl stands for grow because I always believe we're always growing within our lives. I love to uplift others, and we need to do that as women. And having resilience is very important to me as well, and living presently now. So that's kind of what the girl stands for. So I will take it over to Avalaura and let her do a little intro.
I love that. Hey, girl. I'm Avalaura Gaither. I am a celebrity life coach, Reiki Master Teacher, intuitive consultant, keynote speaker. Um, what else? TV personality, all things holistic mental health. So my background is in traditional mental health, and I, through my own self-care journey, through my own healing journey, really worked with holistic remedies and integrated the two. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 20 years almost. God help me.
I mean, that's amazing. Longevity is a good thing. Sometimes we get scared of those numbers, but I feel like longevity means everything. So I'm happy to have
It's
you
just
here.
it's just weird. Like you get to a certain point in your life,
Uh-huh.
and women watching this, you in your 20s, just listen up. 20s, 30s, listen up. When you get
Mm-hmm.
into your 40s, I think in 50s, it's like you still feel young, but
Mm-hmm.
life, you have all of this life, and you're like, I'm not really that young, but I still feel young. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
weird thing to say 20 years when I still feel like I don't feel like I've been around that long.
Right. I could I could resonate that to an extent because I'm not up there yet, but I can't wait till I get up there. But at this moment of my age, I be feeling that too. I'm like, hold on, how did that happen? Too much time has passed, and it doesn't even seem like it has because like you said, you kind of still feel like the same, but you're different. You've grown and everything. You have
Hmm.
all these things to kind of look back to, but it just doesn't seem real all the time. So it's an
It's
interesting
true.
thing about growing up.
Yep. Stuff
Hmm.
that nobody tells you.
Nobody told me. I was surprised. So but we could go straight into it. So my first thing, we met on Threads, so that was
Mhm.
amazing. If you guys haven't downloaded Threads, I definitely recommend it because it really aligns you with people who are interested in the same things as you. So I'm passionate about mental health,
Yeah.
and that's how I was able to find her. So I think it's a great platform. And what I found interesting about Ava Laura is that she has a holistic approach. And she was telling me in our little intro call about the Reiki, and I don't want to say
Mhm.
it wrong. Could you
You
give
said it
the
right.
background? Okay, could you give a background on what that means so people can get an understanding on what kind of service that is?
Yeah, Reiki is just, one of many holistic remedies, as I call it. It's
Mm-hmm.
considered energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you think about, acupuncture, there's other types of energy healing as well, but acupuncture is something that a lot of people know about. So in acupuncture, you're using needles, right? The
Mm-hmm.
little tiny needles that are working with your meridian system, which are energy centers throughout your body. You're talking about like Eastern medicine, and they're used to, unblock energy, remove energy, balance energy, bring things back into harmony and alignment, all of these different things, right? So with Reiki, instead of using needles, I'm actually using my hands. And so
Mm-hmm.
through my hands, I'm channeling energy to bring your energy back into alignment and balance and harmony and all of those things. It's amazing. I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
adore Reiki. It's very relaxing, it's very calming, it's centering. And the thing that I love about like holistic wellness is that you can use it with everything. So
Mm-hmm.
you can be doing traditional mental health, you can be going to your therapist, or you're getting on medication, whatever it is, and still use Reiki. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the cool thing about it. It all works together in harmony, or you can do it by itself.
Mm. Couple things. I love everything you just said because that's another reason why I want to start this podcast is to see that there's so many different approaches to your mental health. And some people forget, the most common thing, we know in America, okay, therapist. I need a therapist, a psychiatrist. That's what I need to kind of focus on my mental health. So I love that you have a holistic approach. And I wanted to ask, what made you get into the Reiki style, and also what made you take a holistic approach from your
Yeah.
background as a psychologist?
Yeah, so my background is actually, I went to school, I went to Howard University. I went to school for psychology undergrad and then majored in social work grad. So
Mm-hmm.
my goal at the time was to be a traditional therapist because that's all that I knew,
Mm-hmm.
right? That it wasn't, I remember when I decided to go to Howard and major in psychology, my mom said, well, if you want to do mental health, you have to
Mm-hmm.
get a PhD. Like that was the thing at the time, like that was the only way. And I was like, okay, fine. I went to get my PhD. I didn't get accepted into um any colleges, which if you know me is like, what? How did that happen? Because
Right.
I am the classic overachiever. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I understand now is because I was not supposed to go in that direction. I think if I
Mm-hmm.
had went and got a PhD, I would have hurt somebody. I would have never finished because and that's a whole thing, right?
Uh-huh.
But I didn't have to go that route. And then I remember
Yeah.
talking to one of my mentors, and he was like, Ava
Mm-hmm.
Laura, you don't need a PhD, especially if you don't want to teach. He was like, just get your master's in social work. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Like, and if you know anything about mental health, so the way that mental health was, and I have to say was, the way that it was taught in college, right? Clinical psychology is at the top and social work is at the bottom,
Mm. I did not know that.
right? So there's this hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I am always at the top. So I went for clinical psychology, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't the best thing for me, but I have to be the best of the best. So I was like, okay, then I got to do clinical psychology. So yeah, that was all God. That was all God because that was
Mm-hmm.
not the path to take. So social work, and you can do
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, getting licensed. Not no, you said I'm not psychotherapist. I think you said psychiatrist. A
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist is different because a psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor that focuses on mental health and can
Mm-hmm.
prescribe medication.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know the differences. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a therapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting into social work. I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember sitting at my job and just like looking around, and I was just like, this is some bullshit. Like the realization that I had was set up to help people to maintain their dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what I'm about. That's not what I was there for. I knew from a very early age that I am a healer. And the reality is, when you go into the mental health field, money is important. We all know that, but you don't go into that field to make money. You go
Mm-hmm.
into this field to help people. So it was like, if I'm not helping people, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what is my purpose? And that's really what happened to me. I started feeling really kind of stuck and really feeling like I don't know what I'm doing anymore, because if I can't do what I want to do and what I went to school for and all these things, then I don't know what to do with myself. Like, and I was in that space for a while of just feeling really kind of stuck, feeling depressed,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I didn't have a purpose anymore. And it just got to the point where I literally just became sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, that's literally what happened. I was sick of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I finally just talked to a colleague. And here's the thing. This whole time I'm working, I'm helping other people, I'm helping adults, I'm working with children, I'm doing all of this work, right? And I had nobody to turn to for myself. I couldn't
Mm.
coworkers because I didn't trust them. It was a toxic work environment, even though we're talking about mental health and the people working
That's
there.
crazy.
Oh, it's real. I could tell some stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't go to them. And I just didn't even know where to turn. But I finally
Mm-hmm.
just ended up talking to a colleague, and she said, Avalaura, I have a women's retreat coming up. She was like, why don't you come,
Mm-hmm.
to be really good for you. Now, at the time, nobody was doing women's retreats. Like, this was not, if you think about it now, you're like, okay, that's normal. But back then,
Yeah.
that was not normal. Like, nobody was talking about this stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, if she had said, let's go hang gliding, I would have gone. Because at that point, I was just over it. Like, I
Right.
needed help. And whatever she had said, I would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. I went on the retreat and it was the best thing for me. Um,
Oh.
I really got back to soulful self-care, as I call it, that I talk a lot about, that
Mm.
I teach a lot about today. That became clear to me there. Like, it was a moment in time where I really just got to see myself, where I
Mm.
really got to look at my life for what it was,
Mm.
because when you are stuck in the middle of chaos, when you're going through the storm, you don't have a moment to just breathe, and just think and just
Mm.
contemplate like what's going on in your life. You're just too busy trying to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at this retreat, I had a moment to myself. We're doing meditation and yoga and spending time in nature and just, with like-minded women and all these things. And I just had a moment to myself and I literally broke down. I had an emotional
Mm.
breakdown. Like, when it really hit me, like what was going on in my life, I broke down. And I just found myself on my hands and knees crying out to God, like, you got to get me out of here.
Mm.
Live like this. I'm like, this is not what you sent me here for. Like, what the hell am I doing? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really living. I'm just existing. And I'm not even doing that well. You know what I mean? Like, so what am I
Mm.
doing? Um, and I was crying, boo-hooing, like, I mean,
Yeah.
all the things, right? Laying it all down at the altar, as they say. And at the end of that, I felt good. Like,
Mm.
you just had like a good cry, like that good
It's a
cry.
release.
You let it all out and release. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I felt amazing. And then it hit me. I was like, well, that was temporary. I feel good. This is
Mm.
amazing, but life still continues. But I did. I went back to work because that's what I did, right? Because that's who I was. And I have to take care of everybody and I have to do all these things and I have these commitments and I have my clients. And so even though I'm very clear that I'm miserable and I'm barely
Mm.
existing, I'm still gonna go back because I have people that I have to help and take care of.
Mm.
And I did. So I went to work. It was, regular day. And my boss calls me into his office for a meeting. He sits me down. He slides an envelope across the table and he says, Avalaura, it's been great having you. You're amazing, but I gotta let you go. Basically, here's your severance pay. Deuces.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just like that. I had never been fired from a job ever in my life. No bad, nothing. I didn't get any reviews, nothing. It was just like, out the blue.
That's crazy.
And crazy, right? At first, I was just like, oh my God, what the hell? Ego was having a fit. Like, how dare this man fire me? What is he going to do without me? Blah, blah, blah. You know how ego is. Ego just,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, ego be creating all them stories in his head.
They
Like,
do it
listen.
and wrapping it up too.
You about to fight somebody listening to ego.
Mm-hmm.
But then, really my spirit kicked in, just very small voice.
Mm.
And, my spirit was like, Ava Laura, like, you prayed for this. So
Mm.
what are you going to do? You prayed for this. You asked for this. So now what are you going to do? And I was just like, dang, I did. I did
Mm.
pray for this. And I've been a manifester all my life, but I think that was the first time it really hit me that in manifesting, things can happen that you don't think you want to happen, right?
Yes.
But I really worked on that. Like, am I just gonna go and, get another job in social work? And for those of you who don't know, like DC area, social workers in general are like nurses. You can always find
Mm-hmm.
a social work job. You may not want it, but you can always find it. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, am I just gonna go and just get another job and, whatever, or am I really just gonna now take this time and venture into the path of the unknown and really do what I was called here to do and really live in purpose?
Mm.
And I chose the latter, which is how I ended up working with holistic medicine and holistic practices. And I did, and it's so interesting. I did something that just now, Black women are starting to talk about. But I took a 6 month healing sabbatical
Six months?
where I just decided I was going to work on me. 6 months. Wasn't
Okay.
anybody doing that, right? At the time, especially not Black women, because we who has
No.
the luxury of that? But I took 6 months, and that's when I studied Reiki. I became a Reiki Master Teacher. That's when I started. I studied life coaching, hypnotherapy, aromatherapy, really got more into crystals and chakras and Reiki. And I mean, literally just inundated myself in every healing art that I could get my hands on. And at the
Mm.
end of that 6 months, I opened up my business where really I've been serving and helping people just like me who, people who are in leadership, people who had a lot to lose, you know what I mean? Had done a
Mm-hmm.
at this place where you work so hard to get there, and then you get there and you're like, this is not what I signed up for. This was
Nope.
not supposed to look like this. This is not what I wanted. Right.
Mm-mm.
And so now you're lost because you don't know what to do because everything that you've worked for is now, in shambles and didn't live up to what you thought it was going to be. So now you have to really create a new reality for yourself that's in alignment with
Mm.
who you are.
Mm.
And I did all of that work with no guides at the time. I kind of piecemeal guides, right? I had a
Mm-hmm.
person over here, person over here, person over here, but I did a roadmap and help me through this time.
Mm.
And that's what I say, like this is what I am here to do. I am a healer, but I am here to really help people who, they're not struggling. You know what I mean? They're not just trying to survive, but they
Mm-hmm.
actually can make a difference. They have tried to make a difference, but they just realize their lives are not in harmony with who they want to be and who they
Mm.
could be. And they're just trying to figure out how to get there.
My God, my God, my God. Yeah, you that whole story. I have to go back to a part. There's so many pieces I want to go back to. My first piece I want to go back to. First off, thank you for saying that. You said you knew you were a healer since you were like at a young age. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm a Pisces
Okay.
and believe in astrology. And I've always been very intuitive, even though I didn't know what that was. Like, let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
There were times in my life I'm like, I don't know what is going on here. But I've always been very in tune. I've always been a dreamer. And I'm the oldest of three kids. I was always bossing people around and people actually listened to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
so I was like, okay, there's gotta be something to
Mm-hmm.
this. So I just knew it was one of those things that and what's weird is like when I was younger, I thought that I had no like real skills because
Mm.
I wasn't like a dancer. Like if you don't
The
dance, if you don't
typical thing.
sing, if you don't play sport, like what the heck can you do, right?
Right. Exactly.
And that was my reality. I was like, I mean, I'm in the choir, but it's not like I can sing. I
Yeah.
mean, I can dance okay, but you know what I mean? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be winning any contests. I'm not gonna be on Soul Train or nothing. So what can I do? And that was the thing that I realized that came natural to me that I didn't even realize. And that happens for a lot of people. It happens for a lot of my clients is that the thing that really is our superpower, the thing that we were put here for is often so oblivious to us because it's just second nature. It's just such a
Mm.
part of you that you don't even consider it as being anything big because it's just what you do
Mm-hmm.
naturally.
Mm.
And that's what I realized. Naturally, I listened. Naturally, I advised. Naturally,
Mm.
I step in and I just knew how to help people. Naturally, I just knew stuff.
Mm. Wow. This is amazing. I love this conversation because I feel like it's so important for people to, like that piece you just made. Some people don't know their power because it comes natural to them and it doesn't fit in those little spaces in those pockets. And as you gotten older, you've realized probably more about the power that you have. and then you started to take it into your purpose and also serving to others. Um, and with that, I wanted to ask you a question. How do you, with the Reiki, so if you're using your hands and everything to kind of pull people's energy this way, that way, or and kind of molding it, how do you kind of protect your own energy during this
That's a
process?
great question. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
question. So one of the things that happened during that 6 month period, right, is that um, I got a reading, and she was just like, "You have this gift in your hands," and I was like, "Really?"
Mm-hmm.
Suggested that I learn Reiki. And, for me, learning Reiki was all about that. Like, I had this innate gift, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Reiki for me was learning, how do I use my gift? And just like you said, and how do I protect myself?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so Reiki is passed down from teacher to student. That's the only way that you can learn it. I know people say
Mm.
you can go online and do stuff, but if you just going online and read some stuff, you are not attuned to Reiki. You actually
Right.
have to be attuned from a Reiki master teacher, and it's passed down to you. And so, one of the things that I learned and that I now teach as well is how to protect your energy, because a lot of
Mm.
us, even if we aren't doing that healing work, we're empaths, we're absorbing
Mm-hmm.
people's energy, right? We're overly enmeshed in what's going on with other people. And so how do you have
Mm-hmm.
that boundary? Not just the things that you do, but energetically, right? Like, what do you
Mm-hmm.
do to have a boundary so that negative energies, right, toxic energies can't come here, or maybe think twice, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I actually teach in Reiki 1. I have a lot nationally that really want it for themselves. I work with other um what's the other one, massage therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, and just women who are just like, listen, I want it because this is medicine, you know what I mean, like, this is natural medicine that we have done for millennium. I want to know how to do this for my family, because now maybe I don't have to give, my daughter a pill if she has a headache. I can put my hands over her head and remove the headache that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is one of the things that I teach, because it's very real. You have to know how to protect your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even in the field you're in is so, I could imagine it being so emotionally charged. So in
Mhm.
order to protect yourself, it feels like there'll have to be like a lot of intention that you put into that. Okay, I know this energy doesn't belong to me, because I find it like myself, I don't know what it is, but I know when I'm around people and I feel what they have going on and things like that, and it affects me a lot. Like I can feel the weight on me, and I don't know how to remove it without removing myself from it completely. And I don't want
Yep.
to have to remove myself completely in order to be around,
You don't.
emotionally charged people or situations. So I
Yeah.
think that's a
There's
skill.
ways. There are
Mm-hmm.
absolute ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I call an empath. Healing work, but you still an empath. So you're still picking up different energies and things that are going on. You're still sensitive to that, and you need to know how to protect yourself from it.
Mm. Okay, I have a question. Is from you going through these experiences within your, like, if when you started to dabble into these holistic wellness methods with your family, were they what I want to say, did they, I don't want to say believe it, but how was it like transitioning into that for them? Did you have a challenge with that? Because we're so used to, like you
So
said, like, I got a headache, let me pop some pills, now the
yeah,
headache is gone. So how do you kind of navigate that with your
yeah,
own
and this was
self?
20 years ago. So you got to keep
Exactly.
it in mind. Like, this was 2005, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally 20 years ago. So, the thing was, because again, I was a social worker, right? I went to school for that. I could say I'm doing counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents, it was more of a thing of, why are you working for yourself? Why don't you have a job? Because you got a master's
Mm-hmm.
degree and you should have a job. Like, that was
Right.
more their thing. Like, you worked hard, you did all of this stuff, and what are you over here doing? Just go ahead and get a job. That was
Mhm.
really the thing. And my husband at the time, my ex-husband, he was pretty supportive because at that point we had already built a successful real estate career at that
Mhm.
particular time before the market crashed. And I really helped him to build that. So he was supportive. It was like, listen, you've helped me over here. We got this. You do your thing.
Mhm.
But
I love
my
that.
parents,
Okay.
they was
Yeah.
like, I don't even understand. I don't know what none of this stuff is.
I find it, and that's the challenge, right? I know, like parents, it feels like it's hard to, like as a child to a parent, you want your parent to support you no matter what. And when you start to go through these different paths, and it's probably like, I don't get this at all. Like, what are you talking about? And trying to navigate that as an empath or a healer, that can hurt. I would assume it would hurt trying to navigate that.
I'll be
So
honest with you, and that's really a part of the healing work. I didn't care. I really
I know those.
didn't. I mean, I left home at 18 years old, went to Howard University in Washington D.C. and never went back. The only time I go back to Connecticut is to say, "Hey, mom and dad," and I leave again. So I didn't care. My life is
Mhm.
my life, and I've when you do your healing work, you can have that boundary and be okay with it. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their
Mhm.
validation. I've given that to myself. So however they
Mhm.
felt about it is how they felt about it. Now they cool with it now. Once I got on TV and all this stuff started happening, oh, that's
Yeah.
how, but you know how that goes.
I know. I understand. They got to see it in a different light in order to kind of
Yeah.
accept it and be like,
When
okay,
my
I get
father first saw me speak, he was like, wow.
it.
That's when it
Mm,
hit him. That's when it hit him. And he was trying to do everything to support me. Like, and not to say they weren't supportive before, they were supportive as much as they could be, right? But that's
exactly.
when he was invested because he saw me speak and he saw the impact and he saw all the people coming up talking to me afterwards. And he was like, wow, okay,
Mm,
I see it
that's
now.
interesting.
Yep.
Okay, and that makes sense. I feel like that's a common thing. I guess that they can kind of, it has to like hit. I don't know how to explain. It's like something got to snap for them to
Yep.
actually realize it. And I wanted to go back to another point you were talking about. Ooh, what was that point? Oh, this is my question. From from you saying like this is a holistic method, like we're talking about Reiki versus being a massage therapist. And my kind of question is, do you think that a lot of holistic methods that exist have been transitioned, I guess, into a different method to be sold, if that makes sense? Like,
I see what you're saying. I would not in that example because they really are two separate things.
okay,
And Reiki is commonly misunderstood for massage because we're used to
right.
massage, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
massage is like we're manipulating muscles, right?
Okay.
And Reiki, we're manipulating energy.
Right.
So I don't even have to physically touch you. Like Reiki can be done via distance. You can be right there where you are, and I can do Reiki here.
Mm-hmm.
You will feel the effects. So very, very different energies. But that's a lot in yoga. Like when I
Mm.
first learned yoga, I learned yoga at Howard University. I think it was my sophomore, junior year from a black guy who was a Buddhist. Again, nobody was talking about that stuff then. He was vegetarian, he was a Buddhist.
Look
And,
at him. Yeah,
he was like, I'm gonna just teach some yoga classes. And I was down. I don't even think I don't even know if I knew what yoga was. Cause
I
y'all, this
did.
is the 90s. I just want y'all to, this is the 90s, right? And but I was like, this sounds cool. I see, and that's that intuition. I was just like, I need this. And so I took it
Mm-hmm.
and it ended up being like the best thing. I swear yoga got me through my junior and senior year. Listen, I graduated magna cum laude, you know what I mean? All the things, scholarships, everything, right? And I really
Mm-hmm.
attribute yoga to helping me with that practice. When I left Howard, when I graduated and I tried to go to an actual yoga studio, I was like, what the hell is this? This ain't yoga.
Ain't the
Because
same
now
thing.
it was like upward dog, downward dog, do this, do that. I was like, that's not yoga
Mm.
though. That's not
So
the
what's
essence of
yoga? Because
yoga.
that's been my experience when I started yoga and I tried it out. it was that like, okay, do this pose now, do that pose. So what is
We
yoga
are
to
being
you?
sealed up. Yoga right now is very westernized. It's very
That's what I
commercial.
was trying to
It
say.
has
Yeah.
lost its essence. It is not the way it's intended to be. And it's not that way for a reason, because yoga is powerful. If you
Mm,
actually were doing yoga, many of us would not be in the places that we are right now, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Right.
mm,
I studied, so long story short, once I had started my business, about
mm,
maybe a year or two in, I was feeling restless again. And I was just like, I was like, I need something. Something is not right. Like, something's stirring in my spirit. I need something. And I
mm,
decided that I really wanted to get deeper into yoga, but I couldn't because I didn't like what I was seeing. It was just not
mm,
working. So I decided to study it because I was like, well, maybe if I do a yoga teacher training, I will get more out of it. And
mm,
at the time, I was looking for places to go. I was talking to one of my friends, and she was talking about, oh, my boyfriend went to India, da 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 da. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. And then I was like, huh, India. Okay. And so I just looked up the information, and I was like, for the price that I'm gonna pay for yoga teacher training here, I could go to India, have a whole experience. And I went to India.
I
So I
wow.
learned yoga in India. It was
Mm,
a 5 week program. I was no, 4 week. It's a 4 or 5. I was in India 5 weeks,
uh-huh.
and it was absolutely amazing. And when I studied yoga there, I mean, it was really yoga, meditation, breath work, mantras, chanting,
Mm,
vegetarian. It was the whole lifestyle, which is what I wanted, because I'm an
mm,
immersive learner. For me, to really feel something, I want to experience it. I want to be in.
yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I lived the life of a yogi for 4 or 5 weeks. And it
Yeah.
was an amazing experience. Like, you learn the eightfold path of yoga. And the eightfold path is understanding that there's 8 parts of yoga, right? So a lot of times here in the US, when we
Mm-hmm.
learn yoga, we learn one, and that's the asanas. The asanas are the physical postures. That's one path. Y'all
Mm.
missing 7.
I did not know that.
Yes. Yes. So you only literally getting one part of yoga.
That's crazy. And you spending a lot of money for that one part. You're not even getting the whole experience. And the fact, I just want to say something. 10 out of 10. I feel very fulfilled right now from you explaining to me your whole story. You have no idea. Because I think when you said immersive learner too, that hit me because I'm the same way. Like, I need to be in it, feel it. Now, what is going on? Now I can kind of navigate it. And you taking that opportunity to go straight to India to say, you know what, I need to learn it. I need to feel it to be
Yeah.
able to really know what this like art form or is. I think that's
And
so
people thought
cool.
I was crazy. And again,
I know
y'all
they
need
did.
to understand, this was early 2000s. So,
Yeah.
you look at it now, women are doing that everywhere, but they weren't doing that then. So people were like, what are you doing? You're going to India by yourself. How long are
Mm-hmm.
you going? And for me, again, it was just intuition. I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm just gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you
I left
do?
my husband. I just went.
You said, gotta go. Like, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, I think it's beautiful the fact that you have I want to say the courage to go about like following your intuition because I find it myself that sometimes it's challenging because
Yeah.
it gets scary because you're taught to sit in a box and this is the path you're supposed to go on. And I've never been able to fit in boxes. Me personally, I've always had trouble with it. I'm like, no, I can't be in this little box. It's stuck. I
Mhm.
feel stuck. So
Yeah.
for me, hearing you, taking these opportunities and in the time, like you keep mentioning, the time you were taking these opportunities speaks volumes to your character and yourself. So wow, I'm amazed. I really am.
When you are really in your purpose, again,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you're doing don't even seem that significant, because
Mm,
you're just doing them because you are called to do it. Like, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even a big deal to me. This was just the next stage of my journey. So I need to do this. And that was
mm.
just it.
Yeah. That's so cool. I think that's so cool. And How do you follow your intuition?
I mean, I would be lying if I said that it
Mm,
was easy, right? Especially if it's not something that you have been taught or trained to do.
mm,
And in this society, we are literally taught the opposite. We're
mm,
taught how to not listen to ourselves. We're not taught how to listen to ourselves. We're
mm,
taught how to look at all the things outside of ourselves. We're taught how to go on social media to look for trends. You know what I mean? We're taught, okay, well, this is what people are doing, so this is what I need to be doing. We're taught how to compare ourselves to other people. So all the things that we are taught, that we're looked at, that we're told, this is what's beautiful, this is what's important, this is what's smart, this is what you need to do. It teaches you how to not tune into yourself to figure that out for you. Because what might be special, smart, important, beautiful about you has nothing to do with what we're seeing on the outside, has nothing to do with the trends. So then if you start looking at what you come up with, what people are saying out here, and you compare, you might be like, oh, well, I must be wrong.
mm, hmm.
And that's what often
Mm.
happens. And mind you, this all happens very unconsciously. This is not like a conscious step by step thing that I laid out, right?
Yeah.
Like literally unconsciously, this is what's going on. So you're systematically taught how not to trust yourself. So now you got to systematically go through a process to teach yourself how to listen to yourself because it's literally been programmed out of you.
And I think that's why, excuse me, as I've gotten older, that's what I've appreciated though about getting older is that I've been learning to trust myself more instead of, oh, well, society says this is how you're supposed to do it. This is, you're wrong. This is not right. And it's so crazy when you really think about it. I've been taught to listen to everyone else except for me.
Yep, absolutely. Because how can
I
I
can't
control
trust
you if I
me.
don't do that?
Exactly. Mm. My God, my God, my God. Yes. Okay.
Like when I'm working with my clients, when I'm working with people, and I think sometimes when people hear life coach, they're like, oh, that's so cool. I want a life coach, right? Like that's cool.
Mm.
And not to say that we're not, because I love what I do. But so much of what I'm teaching you is how to dismantle your belief system and rebuild it according to who you are. Because the dysfunction, the trauma, a lot of the things that we experience, it's because of what we believe.
Mm.
So, literally, systematically dismantling your belief system to make sure that the beliefs that stand there are your own and not ones that have been given to you or programmed into you by somebody else.
And with that, how do you identify what's you and what's not? From
That's the
being
work.
programmed since birth,
That's
this is
the work.
it.
That is the work.
Mm.
It's the work. It's a process. It's like an archaeological dig. Like you're literally digging for treasure. You're just going through and looking like, wait, where is this? What is this? What is this? Oh, is this mine? Oh no, this. I mean, literally, it's like that. And it doesn't have to be difficult, but it does take time and it does take
Time,
strategy.
intention. I find it
Very
very
much.
difficult to be intentional about your life. I find it easier to go with what's been taught, even though it doesn't feel right. It's easier to go about that than it is to like break off. Like, okay, here
Absolutely.
now. I'm here. It's crazy. Oh my god.
Listen, it's like everything that's up is really down and everything that's down is really up. And so it's like we're supposed to eat
Mhm.
better. I'm gonna just say better, right? We could call it healthy, balanced, whatever, but we're supposed to eat better. But
Mhm.
it's easier to eat worse than it is to eat well. I can go
Mhm.
to the grocery store and I can get the worst foods for me very cheaply. But the foods that are better for me are like uber expensive. So I got to get organic, I got to get non-GMO, I got to get all this stuff. Like I used to shop at we have a place called Mom's here in
Mhm.
DC, my organic market, because I was a vegetarian before it was cool to be a vegetarian, and then I stopped. I be, and so I was spending so much money on food because I was getting
Yes.
all the supplements and I was getting organic, and then and it was just like, oh my God, like this, when we lost money with real estate, I was like, I can't eat this way anymore. Like I gotta go back
It's
to
costly. It's
like
costly.
so much. But I mean, that's the reality. It's very easy to do the things that you're not supposed to do. And it's
Mm.
so much harder to do the things that are best for you.
A word, a real word, because and when you speaking to me, when you talking about like the whole food thing, like my God, I it you're literally trained to, at least I know the way I grew up. I mean, what's gonna last, not what's
Yep.
gonna be healthier for you. What's gonna last? We need to get this over here because this can stretch. That ain't gonna be
Yep.
last for 2 3 days. When you talking about organic, when you talking about fruits, vegetables, that's
That's
gone
got
just
to
like that.
go. Right, exactly. That is not gonna last. So one of the things that I learned, so I do a Reiki in Morocco retreat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm teaching
Yes.
Reiki in Morocco. And I have another one coming up in November.
Ooh.
What was so interesting, yeah, please come, please come. Like it's a
Yes.
whole thing. We're at a black owned healing and restoration center in Marrakesh. It's amazing. Like
Okay.
just it's all the things, right? So every day, I mean, the food is fabulous, like 5 stars,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a foodie. So when I say food is good, that
Same.
means it's good. You can't trust some people. When I say it's
Mm-hmm.
good, it's good. Well, one of the things that I realized is that we were eating heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm having like breakfast, like a big breakfast, for the most part, I'm having lunch, and then like this like 3 course dinner. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, gosh, I was like, why am I not stuffed? Because anytime I'm at home, right, like
Mm.
especially now, like, and I love tasting menus, like, for my birthday, special occasions, I love, 3 course, 5 course, 16 course tasting menu. Like that is my love.
Mm-hmm.
But I start feeling really heavy, especially if I'm eating
Yeah.
beef. I was not feeling heavy at all. And we had oxtails, we had lamb, we had, all the
All
things.
you had to say was oxtail, and I fell in love. I
Listen,
love oxtails.
that food was amazing. And it's like, and literally 3 courses. So we would have like a soup or some kind of appetizer, the main course, which was huge, and then a dessert. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember talking to the woman who owns it, and she said, "Oh, because there's no hormones or stuff in the food." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "All the meat, everything is fresh." And so she said, what happened was they learned the food does not stretch. Literally, when they
Mm.
buy food, they have to cook it immediately or it goes bad because there's no
Mm.
hormones or anything in the food that helps it to last longer. So all those fillers and stuff that they put in it to last long, that's what creates the heaviness in our bodies and our systems. We're sluggish.
Mm.
You want to go to sleep after you eat. I didn't feel like that there. You still feel light. I mean, you still feel, full, but
Mm-hmm.
it's such a difference. And I was just like, oh my God. So all those chemicals that they're putting in our food, like I could feel the difference.
Mm. And I've heard that. I've heard people talk about when they go out the country, they go somewhere else, they can feel the differences. They can lose weight, eat more over there, and then come
Yes.
here and they're gaining weight,
Yes.
and you might be eating less. It's just, you
Yep. And
know,
everything tastes different. The fruit tastes different. Like I remember the first time when I went to Nigeria, I was just like, I was living on pineapple. It was like the best pineapple I ever had in my life. Like everything tastes different. The orange juice is different. The milk is
wow.
different. Everything.
That's how, when I was living in Atlanta, the DeKalb farmers market, I used to love going there because they had fruits, vegetables, everything from different places, like around the world. Like it was amazing. Everything tastes better that's not from America. That's problematic.
Figure.
I I want people to know how to find you, like everything that you have to offer. I know you said you had a retreat coming up, so could you give people like more insight on how to find you, your services, and the things that you can bring and help them with?
Yeah, all things Avalaura,
Mm-hmm.
Avalaura. I am Googleicious. I am the only Avalaura.
Mm-hmm.
So you type
Googleicious.
that in,
That's
you're going
funny.
to find me.
Mm-hmm.
My hub is avalaura.com. And you can connect with my social media, get on my mailing list. You can schedule a consultation, all the things, book me to speak. Everything, usually everything that I have going on is there, but you want to get on the mailing list because things
Okay.
constantly pop up. So I have my Girl Live Your Effing Life brunch coming up in April
Ooh.
here in the DMV. So if you're in
Mm-hmm.
or around, it is absolutely worth the trip. And yes, I have the Reiki in Morocco retreat in November. So if you want to learn Reiki, you want to experience Morocco, you just want to be with some dope Black people for a week, join us. We have an
Mm-hmm.
amazing time. So there's always something going on, always.
Okay. Yes, we love that. I'm gonna put all her information below so you all can check her out, go to some of these retreats, do the brunch, all the things. And like she said, definitely the mailing list so you can get notified of all the things that she has coming up and to stay connected with her. Thank you so much for coming on today, Avalaura. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Thank you for having me. I am glad that it served you. I hope it serves whoever watches this. And
Mm-hmm.
my only caveat is, you see something, whatever it is, see something, hear something that inspires you, that motivates you, take action. Don't just let
Mm.
it sit there, and be like, oh my God, and then do nothing. Take
Mm-hmm.
action. That's part of your intuition talking to you. If you really feel it, if it's really speaking to you, act on it.
That's a word because I know myself. That's something I had to get better at. Like I started doing that 3, 4 years ago. I was like, okay, I
Mhm.
need to do these things. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Do it because that's where you get the experience, the immersive experience. That's when you really get to feel that thing. So thank you for that last piece. Is there
You're
anything else you
welcome.
want to share with everybody before we
Listen,
go?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to the first episode of Hey Girl and looking forward to connecting with you all. I'll put some more information in the bio on how you can find more of my platforms. And till next time, bye bye.